Imagine being a young black boy, humiliated by a laughing cop in front of your whole school, just for proudly saying your dad serves in the Special Forces. But seconds later, when a shadow steps out of the crowd wearing medals and a stare that could silence Worth, a cop realizes he just mocked the wrong family. What happens next turns the whole town upside down. If this hooked you, subscribe for more real justice stories that leave you speechless. It was a Friday morning, and 12-year-old Jamal Carter was walking into Jefferson Middle School with a proud smile on his face and his science project in hand, a carefully constructed model of a military base, complete with labeled barracks, drone landing zones, and surveillance towers, all based on real layouts his father had described from missions overseas. Today was Family Heritage Day, and students were allowed to present something that honored their family's history, culture, or accomplishments. Jamal couldn't wait to share his story because, unlike other kids with firefighters, teachers, or lawyers in their families, his dad was someone special literally. "My dad's in Special Forces," he told his classmates with beaming confidence. But his voice carried further than intended, just as two police officers stationed for the school event overheard. Officer Rick Brennan, a middle-aged white cop, with mirrored shades and a gut that told of more donuts than push-ups, burst out laughing. "Special Forces," he snorted, loud enough for the entire hallway to hear. "What's he got? A water gun and camo pajamas?" The students around Jamal snickered nervously, unsure whether to laugh or be offended. Jamal's face flushed red, but he stood tall. "No, sir. He's with SOCOM, Black Ops Division." That only made Officer Brennan laugh harder. "SOCOM. Kid, do you even know what that means? I bet your dad's a janitor at the post office." The cruelty in his voice silenced the hallway, and for a moment, time froze. The other cop, Officer DeWitt, shifted uncomfortably, whispering something to Brennan, but the damage was done. Jamal stood frozen, his science project trembling in his hands, and the pride he carried into school drained into shame and confusion. Ms. Halverson, his homeroom teacher, stormed over and pulled Jamal aside. "Go to the library for now, sweetheart. I'll handle this." But Jamal didn't cry. He clenched his jaw and whispered, "He's gonna show up." The morning passed like molasses, and Jamal sat quietly in the library, drawing military formations in his notebook while trying not to feel the weight of every joke or whisper outside the door. Principal Jennings tried to sweep the incident under the rug, telling Ms. Halvorsen, "Rick was just trying to be funny. You know how he is." But Halvorsen wasn't having it. That funny just publicly humiliated a student on a day meant to honor family. Meanwhile, Brennan continued playing tough cop in the school cafeteria, even telling another parent, "Kids these days always making stuff up. Special Forces my." And that's when it happened. That double doors at the school entrance swung open, and in walked a man that made the room hush like a funeral. Dressed in black tactical pants, polished boots, and a charcoal gray shirt tied around a chest covered in military ribbons, Master Sergeant Elijah Carter stepped into Jefferson Middle School with a presence you could feel in your spine. He wasn't huge, but he was dangerous. His posture was perfect, his movements calculated. He scanned the crowd, locked eyes with Brennan, and asked in a deep, level voice, "Where's my son?" Brennan blinked. You're his dad." Elijah didn't. "Smile, that's right. And you laughed at him for telling the truth." Brennan chuckled awkwardly. "Look, I didn't mean any harm, just some locker room humor, but Elijah cut him off, taking a slow step forward. "Do you laugh at other kids for being proud of their families? Or is it just the black ones?" The silence was deafening. Kids, teachers, and parents leaned in. The principal rushed over, already sweating. "Sergeant Carter, we're so honored to have you." "This is a misunderstanding." "It's not a misunderstanding," Elijah said flatly. "It's a pattern." Then he turned to Jamal, who had been brought down from the library and now ran into his father's arms. "I told them," Jamal whispered. "I told them you were real." Elijah kneeled. "And I told you never be ashamed of the truth, even when others fear it." Ms. Halverson stepped forward and said, "Sergeant Carter, would you be willing to speak to the students about your service?" Elijah nodded once. "Let's start now." The auditorium was packed. Teachers moved schedules. Parents stayed late, and even students from nearby schools tuned in to a live feed. Standing at the podium with nothing but a photo of his old team behind him, Elijah didn't boast. He didn't even smile. He told them stories raw, real, and brutal: love villages saved, comrades lost, and orders followed that kept them safe but left emotional scars. "You don't get to laugh at what you don't understand," he said, staring directly at Brennan. In the front row, honor doesn't come from a badge or a gun, it comes from how you treat people when you have the power to crush them. The students clapped. Some even cried. When he finished, Brennan stood up, clapped along, trying to save face, but it was too late. Later that day, a petition began circulating to have Brennan removed from his post at Jefferson Middle. Local news stations picked up the story. Decorated Black Special Forces vet confronts officer who mocked his son. Elijah Carter became a hometown hero, but he didn't want that. He told Jamal, "This isn't about me. It's about how we demand respect for ourselves and our truth." Meanwhile, Officer DeWitt, the second cop who had been silent during the incident, visited Jamal privately. "I should have said something," he admitted. "Silence is complicity. I'm sorry." Jamal looked him in the eye and said, "Next time, speak louder." Brennan was reassigned to desk duty in another precinct. He never returned to Jefferson Middle. Ms. Halvorsen was promoted to assistant principal after pushing for district-wide changes in how officers interact with students. Jamal, once the quiet boy with a science project, was now seen differently. He held his head high, knowing that truth, backed by courage, could move mountains and silence even the loudest laughter mints later. Jefferson Middle launched a new tradition, Service and Story Day, where students invite family members to share stories of bravery, struggle, or perseverance. Jamal opened the event with a speech titled Proud. He talked about being a black kid in America, and how being proud of your roots can feel like rebellion, but it shouldn't. "My dad," said, "wears a uniform that not many people see, but he never needed to be seen to be respected. He just needed people to listen." The crowd gave a standing ovation. Even kids who once giggled now asked to sit next to Jamal at lunch. He started a leadership club focused on justice, truth, and advocacy. Elijah Carter, after much coaxing from the community, agreed to run for the local school board and won. His first policy: mandatory equity training for any officer assigned to a school. In an ironic twist of fate, Brennan showed up at a public hearing asking for a second chance. "I was raised to think certain ways," he said. "I didn't realize how deep my bias ran until I got called out on it." Elijah looked him in the eye and said, "Acknowledging the past is the first step. Accountability is the next." Brennan agreed to speak publicly about implicit bias, using his own mistake as a lesson. It didn't erase the damage, but it started a conversation. As for Jamal, he never stopped building. His science projects turned into security prototypes. His club won statewide awards. He got a scholarship at 15 to a youth engineering camp hosted by the Department of Defense. On his application under Who Inspires You Most, he wrote, "My dad. And the day he walked into my school and taught everyone what real power looks like." That moment when the cop laughed at a boy and the world expected him to stay silent became the moment that birthed a movement. And in the echoes of that laughter, a powerful truth rang louder. Never underestimate a child who believes in his hero, especially when that hero is already walking through the door. Our